This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We are 20 minutes away from ranking the top 5 players at each position. Defensive ends, our highlight position today, part of our Modelo series, ranking the top 5 players at each position on the gridiron. But first, we talk softball with Kat Osterman, ESPN analyst, general manager of the Texas Faults, joins us now here on Big 12 today. Good morning, Kat.
Good morning.
So Texas Tech, they are rolling 48-4, 19-2 in the Big 12, currently number 4 in the AP Top 25. So what stands out about the Red Raiders? What are they doing differently this year compared to that team that made such a deep run last year?
Well, I think the difference between this year and last year is obviously Jerry used an LI to his advantage, and he went and got himself some more players. He had brought some over with him from Louisiana in year one, and he just was able to go get some more hitters, and it's really a second arm to complement Nyjah Kennedy. And Caitlin Terry has carried her own and really honestly been the offensive output as well for Tech. So just more of an all-around team this year than they were last year. They kind of just rode the arm of Nyjah, and to be honest, I felt like I was kind of semi-reliving my own college days in the Big 12 of like just get a couple runs and the arm can keep the other offenses at bay. And obviously, it worked all the way till the very end, when obviously I think everyone could see she just kind of hit the wall that you can't push through anymore.
Talking with softball legend, four-time Big 12 Pitcher of the Year, gold medalist for U.S. softball, Kat Osterman, joining us here on Big 12 Radio. How much does it matter, and just kind of, I think, give our audience an insight here with, the addition of Caitlin Terry and not having the same innings load for Nyjah this year. I think she's only at 92 innings, whereas last year she was well over 100 innings at this point. Just give us, our audience, kind of a sense of how big of a difference that makes.
I mean, it makes a huge difference. It allows you as a pitcher, you still keep your rhythm because she's still throwing, once, twice a weekend, depending who their matchup is, or at least in the week. Doesn't always have to throw the midweek and 2 games on the weekend. So that's been a big help for her. But I also think as a pitcher, it's just mentally and physically, you're kind of able to take a deep breath and enjoy it a little bit more, because when you're the one and you're constant grind like she was last year, your thought process every morning is like, do I feel well enough? If not, I have to go get recovery. Like there's just more that you put into it to where I hate to say your free time's taken, but your free time's taken and all you're thinking about is making sure that you are recovered enough to be able to go again and again and again. And so when you have help, one, the weight of the world's not on your shoulders. So, one bad inning or one possible, run here and there isn't going to be the end all be all for a game. But two, that you're going to have probably a whole game that you can just sit and watch and enjoy, and not have to mentally and emotionally go through the ringer as well. Because I think a lot of people, we talk about the physical aspect, but as a pitcher, you're out there battling depending on how many pitches you throw, 100, 120, sometimes we get up to 150 pitches a game, and that's a mental and emotional battle every time with the hitter. And so that starts to wear on you too. There are a lot of times you talk to any elite pitcher, a really good game, they're probably more tired mentally and emotionally than they are physically, because they're just in there with this intensity and focus on every single pitch. So the goal is obviously down the stretch for her to be more fresh and not tired, and I think she'll definitely be in a different spot. I got to cover Tech when they came to UTSA a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and Jerry felt like she was the healthiest she's been and hitting really good spots. And that's pretty much the first thing that goes when you start to get tired, is your locations start to falter just a little bit because you're not as sharp.
Well, and the mental aspect of being in that position that's such a great point that you make. Stylistically, like the numbers between Nyjah and Terry are almost identical. So stylistically, how are they similar and how are they different?
I think they're similar in the fact they're both what I would deem power pitchers. They throw mid to upper 60s. They can get away with something by jamming you just with pure power. Obviously, one being lefty, one being righty is a huge advantage for the Tech staff to be able to throw a solid look on both sides, both sides of the arm, basically. Terry, I think, is a little bit little bit more crafty and having to use a lot of pitches, like a lot of different pitches, where Nyjah is a lot of rise ball and her changeup. She'll mix some others in, but those are her two primary pitches. Where, you'll see Terry with a little bit of curveball on both sides. She has a changeup. She can go up. She can go down. So she's a little bit more crafty while being a power pitcher. But I think the biggest thing you see is they're both just competitors. So Jerry can run either one out, and they're both going to go compete, to the end of the earth for their team. And sometimes you have pitchers that you can visibly see are competitors, and sometimes you have the ones that you have to like keep talking to and make sure, and like they're competing, but they're just not the outward. Both of those show some outwardly competitiveness for the team to feed off of.
Kat, Arizona historically has been a very good program in softball, one of the top, certainly in the sport, and they've been really good again this year, 44-11 overall. So right there with the 45-win Tech. What's your read on Arizona? Are they, a good enough team to potentially get to Oklahoma City?
The question with Arizona, especially going on a long run in postseason, is going to be their pitching staff. I think we've seen this year some high points and some low points. Obviously, they did beat Tech, and so had a tremendous pitching outing in that game. But then 2 games after, kind of gave up a ton of runs, and so it's going to be, does the experience this young staff have from this season, can they translate it to postseason rather quickly? Offensively, no question that Arizona could make a run. It's just going to be if their pitching staff can hold them or not. I think we talked about it on Big 12 Media Days, is the fact they only returned one pitcher, and I think she only had 8 innings last year.
Wow.
And so they had a completely new staff, pretty much let a couple go. Some others decided to transfer, which really kind of hit them to where they had to go searching for arms. But, Caitlin Lowe knows what it takes. Lauren Lappin knows what it takes. Both of those Olympians. Christian Conrad has done a good job there with the pitching staff over the course of the year. So could they? Yes. I can't say I see it necessarily for sure happening or even above 50-50 happening, but it does all rely to me in the circle for them, because defensively and offensively, we all know they can get it done.
And then how about Oklahoma State? They're currently 13th, move up 4 spots in the last poll. They're third in the Big 12. They're 14-7, 34-13 overall. They've won 5 in a row. When you look at Oklahoma State, what do they look like?
Oklahoma State's heating up at the right time. They won their midweek against Oklahoma. They came home, or they came down here. I say home because that's where I am. They won their midweek against Texas. They obviously took 2 of 3 from Arizona, so they're heating up at the right time. And I think, they're going to go as far as Ruby Malin can go. We talk about, how Tech used Nyjah last year. Oklahoma State's going to have to use Ruby Malin in the same way. So as long as Ruby Malin can keep going, I honestly think Oklahoma State has a good shot, because they are putting all the pieces together full strength at the right time. They've been really fun to watch lately. I want to say I'm a little bit surprised, but I'm not. Kenny Gajewski tends to get his teams together at the right time, but the way they started the season, I wasn't so sure they were going to be the team that we were all kind of talking about and expecting. But Ruby Malin has really turned a corner the last couple weeks, just to say, nah, this is how we're going to end this game. We're going to end this season the way I want to, and she's just driving the bus.
We don't pay much attention to the SEC around these parts, but
Okay.
your Texas Longhorns won the national title last year. Oklahoma is obviously the gold standard in softball. So who's the better of those two this year?
Any given day, it's hard to tell. OU can still mash. I think they haven't really had the one stud in the circle this year like they have in the past. Texas on the other side, kind of evenly distributed. Their offense is great still. Katie Stewart, actually the star of it this year, as opposed to Reese Atwood. But again, I think across the country, the question is the pitching. Texas has Tegan Cavan, but they haven't really been able to find a consistent number 2. It's kind of a flip of the coin who they use in an off game. So I think consistency-wise, I think OU's getting more consistency out of their arms, even though it's still like a hodgepodge of using quite a few arms. But it'll be a fun postseason to see. And, they are former Big 12. We can say they're like old Big 12 teams. We don't have to say anything for them.
Well, and a meeting between either Texas Tech and OU or Texas Tech and Texas would be fantastic. It was a great series last year, and I'd love to see it again.
I really hope they don't. I really hope that none of them meet up in super regionals because that would just
Yeah,
be a travesty. That needs to be an Oklahoma City matchup for sure. Just with all the dynamics
yeah,
of Jerry building that team at Tech, and then what both of those programs have been able to do over the last couple years.
yeah.
Totally.
Great point.
Also, Kat, you're the GM of the Texas Faults and the AUSL. Saw you guys had like a big jersey reveal. What's the latest in terms of the league and where it sits?
Well, and I love the golden ticket idea, by the way. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. They came up with that last year, just kind of a way to how do we get some excitement around our draft, and it really hit last year. Everyone, in fact, I went to a Texas Tech Arizona State game, and everyone's like, "Are you giving a golden ticket?" And I was like, first of all, no, I am not dressed to
Right.
be giving out a golden ticket. I'm just here to watch a couple kids I know. But anyone who was associated, all of a sudden we were getting questions on like, are you here for that? Are you here for the golden ticket? And so it's been fun to watch because I think some athletes know they're going to get drafted. I'm not so sure that Nyjah was shocked she was getting drafted, but
Right.
it's still a fun moment for fans to be there and see and engage in. Um, the league right now, we are gearing up. We report for spring training in a month. Any college draftee that's in the College World Series will obviously finish out the World Series and then join us afterwards. But all teams have homes this year. That's the biggest move from last year to this year. We all have home sites. So now we'll just play home and home games. We're not touring to other cities where we don't have, our own facility and running things. But I think we welcomed 17 college kids, which is going to be fun to see. I have 2 spots on my roster that will get filled, and our draft is May 4th on ESPN2, I believe. So that evening, everyone will be able to watch and see where all of these kids that got the golden tickets landed. I should say young ladies, they're not kids, but they are kids to me as old as I've gotten lately. But everyone will be able to see the draft and where they landed. And, Nyjah was drafted. I know Sydney Stewart out of Arizona was drafted. Kinsey Brown from Arizona State's going. So there's some Big 12 athletes that get to continue that path to pro ball as well.
Well, Kat, they are kids to us too. So that's awesome stuff, man. Love the golden ticket. Best of luck with the upcoming draft, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me and excited to cover Big 12 tournament. So anyone listening, tune in and you'll hear another familiar voice.
There we go.
Thanks, Kat.
Kat Osterman, ESPN analyst, general manager of the Texas Faults, working really hard with the AUSL. Legendary softball player, 3-time Olympic medalist, former Texas Longhorn star, 3-time softball national player of the year. Joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Coming up next, Artie and I are ranking the top 5 players at each position for defensive ends today. This is a new series we launched earlier this week, a different position group each and every day. We break down the top 5 edge rushers in the Big 12 coming up next. This is Big 12 Radio.